Okay, we're on live.
Okay. We are going to begin our Finance Committee meeting for Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. Board member introductions,
Jeff Hanley.
Joanne O'Brien.
administrators. Katie Gould, superintendent.
Andrea Dish, business manager.
Abe Dostey, Facilities Director.
Terry McGuire, Director of Technology.
Our first item, school revolving renovation fund application, an update from Andrea.
So this is just going to be a brief update, and Gabe can chime in as needed. The deadline to submit the revolving renovation fund applications to the state was October 31st. We submitted 2 applications, one for ventilation at the high school and the other to address the moisture underneath the high school that's causing
Right, that's causing the
air quality issues. So both of those are in a folder that I just told you that I shared with you. So if you have interest, you can look at those applications as they were created by Energy Management Consultants, EMC, the same company that did the energy.
Survey.
Energy survey.
So now we just need to wait and see from the state who they're going to choose for the school revolving renovation fund, who they're going to award it to. As a reminder, the fund provides loans to SAUs, and a portion is considered a grant and is forgiven. The forgiveness rate ranges between 30% to 70% based on the district's state subsidy paid to the local SAU. And when we discussed this back in September, I think I mentioned that our current rate was 66.15%. The remaining balance of the loan is paid back over either 5 or 10 years at a 0% interest rate. And then what we actually pay back goes to future SRRF loan projects that the state has. One of our applications was rather large. One was,
That's the ventilation.
I think that one was over $1 million. The other one was, I want to say about 250,000.
The groundwater one.
Yes.
Right, exactly. The groundwater one was lesser to deal with the moisture problems underneath the slab and the air quality issues. The ventilation one was all of the basically C-wing, library, cafeteria to address all the ventilation issues in that section of the building.
So the groundwater one was 226,000 and change, so I wasn't far off. So so at this point, it's just a matter of us waiting to hear from the state. They'll post a list of awardees. So
Any time frame on that one?
It's just after.
They go through this every year, right?
Just
So-
after the New Year's.
yeah,
I
January
believe.
15th, it
Yep.
looks like they're actually working through the rating process. Looks like January 15th will be the final priority list.
Oh,
And then on the 30th, there'll be eligibility certificates, award dates. So by February 1st, I would think everybody would know.
okay.
That's great. So I'm just gonna keep going. Okay.
Main care billing.
So main care billing is a conversation that we keep having behind the scenes, and I know there's only 2 of you here, and it's kind of a conversation that I might revisit during our finance meetings during the budget season. So there are questions every year from people who don't understand why we aren't billing for main care. So main care is for any of those students that we service who are eligible for main care through the state. And that would be through special ed. And it's really twofold. So years ago, The reason that we no longer bill is years ago, we went through an audit. The state was doing main care audits. And at that time, we had a company who was actually doing our main care billing. All of our teachers and our staff that service students. So we're talking basically speech and language, we're talking
OT.
OT, PT, and there's another one, I think behavior, but don't quote me on that one. So there are very specific things that are main care eligible, but only for those students who are obviously main care eligible. So back to my story, we had a company who was actually, we were providing the data and they were billing main care. After a few years, the state was going around auditing districts to make sure that the main care billing procedures and what we were billing was accurate. And at that time, the district was found in main care violation. And basically, we had a fine to pay. We didn't have to pay back any money. But basically what the attorney advised us, and I've talked about this multiple times, that while the main care billing, as long as Maine has main care set up as a medical billing, school districts don't fit into it, and we will always be in violation in the event of an audit. So at that point, we stopped billing for main care. The other reason that we took this into account is the main care billing revenue that we would get is basically offset in the special education funding formula. So the special education funding formula is extremely long, but one of the things it does take into account is the district's expenses, and that's part of the equation. But for those people who bill for main care, it doesn't use the district's expenses, it nets out the revenue. So they're in the exact same place that we would be in. So there's no harm to us not billing main care. I know the state would like to see districts billing main care because that's money that would come out of a different pot, which would be DHHS instead of the education. But in order for us to bill main care, we would need to either hire somebody who's familiar with main care, or we would need to employ somebody who is familiar with billing practices. There's nobody here who is suited for that, and it's kind of a niche thing. I don't see where we would be any further ahead by billing main care, by expending additional monies and then having to net it off for our special ed. So for our special ed allocation. So it doesn't make sense in my mind that we do it, but that decision is not up to me. It is up to you, and I'm just advising you and giving you my recommendation based on past practice and how I think we would be affected.
I think the other thing that we need to consider is with everything that's going on, people will be dropped out of main care eligibility.
Mhm.
And what if this happens mid-year? How are we going to handle that? The numbers are already in. And so I think you're wise to say, hey, let's skip the main care because it is just too volatile at this time. I don't know how many people are going to be off main care given the climate right now.
The big thing for me, in addition to the violation piece, obviously a lot of districts are there. I have not heard of a main care audit. I think they've quietly have gone away because I think they would run into the same issue. So I think they've allowed school districts to bill under this imperfect formula with the thought that they are going to change the main care reimbursement. They've been talking about changing that almost as long as I've been business manager. It hasn't happened. And again, As long as the special ed funding formula, and if you remember, and I know that you don't, on the ED 279, page 1 and 2 is all about regular ed students. But on page 3, there's a special, I would say it's about a 7-step special ed formula that takes into account our expenses. So if we were getting the revenue in addition and they weren't forcing us to net it out, I would say, yeah, there's a benefit to seeing what we might get, right? But the way that the funding formula is, there is no incentive for us to invoice for main care. Anyway.
I would just add that Andrea and I have been having this conversation because as she or I attend professional development, touch base with contacts, or participate in meetings with the Department of Ed, there is this general encouragement for districts to consider billing. And we've had the conversation a few times. And so I think as different districts opt to do different things, it's important for our board to just understand here are the pros and cons. And at this time, I would absolutely endorse Andrea's recommendation.
I think if the funding formula should changes and that it looks at it differently, there would be an incentive too, but at this point, I just don't see it. Thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you've explained it clearly. I mean, it's yin and yang. You're gonna get a benefit, you know, we're talking money all the time. And, you know, you can either go through the annex of main care billing, which sounds like it would add another layer of bureaucracy in this building, which you don't need.
And the other thing that I didn't even touch upon is that we currently bill for SAC clients, state agency clients, which are wards of the state who come here. And it is difficult for those teachers or those service providers to constantly be tracking their time and getting everything together to submit it to this office for somebody. What I will say right now is that I don't know that it's a great time. I don't know that would it ever be a great time to add another layer on to staff that is already stressed. Is that the word?
Overworked.
Yeah, yeah. Special ed right now, there just isn't enough of either educators or service providers. It's not an MSAD 11 thing, it's a state thing. And this would, the tracking and the timing of it would all fall on them. So, and obviously somebody would have to do the billing, but that's somebody else.
But
yeah.
using the state formula, you said that puts it all, just the collection process of the money sounds like it's a lot simpler if you're doing it on the 273 or whatever the phone number is. I can't remember it all the time, but it sounds a lot simpler for the district to fill it out that way and apply for the money that way than having a whole other outside internal
Yep.
bookkeeping thing going on. Like you said, the teachers, if they're required to track a lot of it and individually, I mean, report their efforts.
Yep.
Their hours, yeah.
It's kind of like a medical billing process. So all of these service providers, it would be the same as if you took a child to a speech language, you know, and they were to issue a bill. All of that needs to be tracked per child and then sent up to, on a monthly basis, up to whoever's doing the billing.
You'd
So-
eliminate that by the other formula. You wouldn't have to track every single hour. Okay.
The SAC, there's just a few kids, so it's not as
Extensive.
Thank you. It's, yeah, extensive, perfect word. So unless, I mean, we can talk about it again during budget. I don't anticipate, I mean, I don't know if any of the others would like to hear this conversation. I know I've talked about it more than once. I don't mind having it again, but I wanted to make sure that everyone understood what we're doing and why we do what we're doing, I guess.
Yeah.
You're gonna need to vote on that issue.
No.
No, okay.
It's kind of an FYI. The next issue is the issue that I do need a vote on, so I may kick it
Let's-
down to
Want to skip down to item E?
Yep, I'm gonna circle back around. So the next thing in that folder that I shared with you, and I touched upon it before we were on camera, was it, we were briefly talking about our sorry, trying to
And from medical.
talking about in large terms, I guess, our budget for the 2027 year, and I had mentioned that we received our medical loss ratio. So our medical loss ratio is something that we receive from Anthem every year. I actually get it twice a year. So this time of year, I get it for January through September, and then I'll get it again at the close of the calendar year. And basically what it is it's a report that shows me what percentage of our dollar is being spent towards claims for our district. And as a reminder, our district includes not only our active employees, but any employees who retired, who went out on retirement and took our plan out with them. We are also carrying those individuals. And when I received the January through September of 2025, what I realized is that our MLR increased significantly from last year. So last year's for the same time frame was 82.3%. So basically out of every dollar, 82.3 cents goes towards claims, which we did really good. Our health insurance increase for this year was extremely favorable. However, our medical loss ratio for, of course, it's not on the first page, and of course, it's really small. So it's now up to, I want to say 96%. So it has increased significantly, and that's a good, it's not the only indicator, but it's a good indicator of where you're going to land. As you remember, you may have heard me talk about it, Anthem bans. So all the schools are in an Anthem pool. We used to be considered one pool altogether. A few years ago, the state asked questions, and therefore Anthem broke us all apart, and now each district is its own pool. So each district has its own band based on each school district's medical claims and medical losses. So this is probably not a great indication of where our health insurance increases will be for the plan year starting July 1st, 2026, which is part of the 27 budget. So just giving you a heads up.
So we should be anticipating a much higher percentage.
We will not
rate
come in
increase.
under 3% that we know.
Do we think that
No, I think
maybe
with,
under 10?
I think with, so there's a couple of things going on, right? The health insurance is in the news, right? And everything I've heard from our employees who have a spouse who may be on another, I mean, they're trying to get their spouse on our insurance because we're talking about increases of 30%, increases of 50% on a spouse's plan. And right now, no one can get on our plan because there are portability limits when somebody can enroll in a plan. So somebody has to lose coverage, and it's not necessarily just an unfavorable increase. So somebody needs to wait till open enrollment, which we hold next May with coverage beginning the first day of the employee's contract year. So we would have some beginning in July and some in September. I'm worried about a mass
Influx.
influx of spouses and other people who may be covered because now our plan may be more favorable to one Obamacare, the ACA, because of the premiums going away or the
Subsidies.
Thank you. Subsidies going away. So yes, so it's kind of, typically I only budget for health insurance exactly what our employees are taking at the time I take the snapshot. Based on what's going around, I may cushion it based on inquiries I've had, but I will chat with you about it as we approach budget time, just depending upon how many more inquiries I have regarding. But yeah. Health insurance is in flux. I guess that's a good way to put it. All right,
Thank you.
questions about that? You're welcome. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. So the next item on the agenda, I'm gonna circle back up to C. And I know that it's the stipend consideration for the high school student activity account. Back in September and an executive session at the October board meeting, we discussed the high school activity account, and I just want to be very careful or mindful what I say. I don't want to repeat what we discussed in executive session. But basically the gist is that the high school student activity account was reassigned to someone else for a variety of reasons. That someone else only had one part of their duties reassigned, so it's a huge workload on this individual. And I've asked this individual who has received the student activity account to add up the number of hours that they typically spend on a week for the high school student activity account. There's probably 40 sub-activities within the activities, which means every either co-curricular or extracurricular club that we have has monies, as well as there may be some small grants. And so there's a lot of, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of activity in and out of that account. It currently has anywhere between 250 and 300,000. So there's a significant amount of money. So going back to what I asked the individual to do, she estimated that she's spending about, was it 12 or 14? 12 hours a week for basically counting deposits, doing purchase orders, processing invoices, cutting checks. What else is on her list, Katie?
Ongoing communication with central office, advisors, coaches, bank trips, and I'm repeating some of the things, recording
Fine.
deposits, writing checks, securing money counting away from, secure money counting away from desk, paperwork, prep for audits, keeping aligned with the protocols and procedures that we've restated, reintroduced, had meetings about to make sure that everyone understands the need to adhere to those procedures based on just the pure volume of interactions happening over the course of a day, a week.
A lot of it is, sorry, go ahead, Becca.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Would it be beneficial for us to actually know the number of student activity? How many student activities are there that are considered in this student activity account?
So
When you say
there's,
there's many,
so there's
but-
about 40 accounts nested in the high school student activity
Okay,
account would be
that's a
my
lot.
guess. Mhm.
We see that in the budget when we're going through the
Yeah,
budget.
so quarterly, I'll also, for those of you on finance, if you look at the reports
Yeah.
I send you, one of them is called the student activity account. And it lists basically every single sub-account within the cash account. So the high school has its own cash account, Pittston has its own cash account. You can see every sub-account, you can see their starting balance, and you can see their ending balance, as well as revenue and distributions over that 3-month period. And I think I sent it out for September. I never hear back, so I don't know if anybody looks at it, but I always send it.
That's good to know. It's, yeah.
So anytime
Good to know,
anyone
pay
wants to
attention.
discuss it, but a lot of her time is spent counting cash. A lot of the things we do with kids has cash, and counting cash takes a lot of time. Whether it's change or dollars, it's just time consuming. So based on that, we looked at her rate for the entire year, how much it would cost. And based on her 12 hours a week, if we were requesting the entire amount, it would be over $10,000 worth of time, which is not what we're requesting. So we are requesting consideration for a $3,000 stipend for this individual. Katie, do you wanna?
Just that, the only thing I would add, Andrea, is that we have identified that we can grant the stipend upon approval.
Mhm.
You know, we have located the
So we
money.
would have to bring it to the board at the next meeting for a vote.
Right, and this year, there is already a stipend that at the high school that hasn't been awarded. Actually, it hasn't been awarded last year either. So for this year, we would use a portion of those funds. Next year, we would need to budget it. I think with the elimination of an administrative assistant at the high school for this year, as well as the change, I think it would be my recommendation, and I think it would be appropriate to award this individual a stipend. I think we have a lot of stipends. And honestly, there are times when, and I know that we love to see clubs come in, but I start twitching because of all the stipends we have, right? There's a lot of them. And, you know, but I don't think that the fiscal responsibility of the district or that account, I think if you were going to cut something, this would be where I would recommend.
Right.
Since I have been here, we have excused 3 people
Yeah.
from the positions, and I'm not saying that's what was happening, but I want to make sure that it's in good hands, and if that's what it's going to take, then I think it's worth the money.
This person, their present occupation, we're taking a day and a half out of their week to do this. Does that hurt their performance in the job they're hired for?
She's saying, honestly, I have shared with her that I was going to go to the board and with Lauren, and obviously I asked Katie. Katie and I have been talking about this. She knows that I am requesting a stipend because of the amount of work. And not only is it a lot of work day in, day out, but she's also fighting past practice. So there are some past practices that have been created that she's trying to straighten out, right? People who haven't necessarily followed our
Expectations.
internal controls for money, right? So there are bad habits. Now she is the one who is taking that on there
And the
at
pushback.
at
She's not a hero.
at our request, right?
Yeah.
So considering the amount of time, and if we were gonna pay her outside of her day, which would be $10,000, I think 3,000 is
Appropriate.
Mhm,
And if she's willing to do it.
mhm,
Her position, eligible for overtime?
yes.
So this person now is the sole overseer of this account, in a sense, right?
Yes
She's the
and no.
first.
She cannot sign checks. I mean, and we can see we can see everything here, but what I can't see is their backup, right? So I don't see their paperwork, and I don't see their paperwork until it's requested by the auditor,
Okay.
all right? So
Well, I
it's.
thought she could sign checks, can't. sign
No,
checks.
Lauren, there's 3 people in the district that can sign checks for all the student activity accounts. Katie's one of them, I'm one of them, and each individual principal, building administrator can sign checks for their
But the
school.
previous person was able to sign checks.
No,
No. Then
no.
how did we get here?
'Cause I mean,
Well,
I'm
she
in an
didn't
organization
get the
and we have
backup.
a treasurer
Uh-huh.
and financial secretary, they both,
So it's a dual
they both are
signatures?
watching the same account. So you have
Right.
2 people. I'm surprised you only have 1 person.
Well,
And we don't deal with that kind of money at all.
so, before any checks are issued, there's a voucher disbursement that Lauren signs. It's a lot like, on a smaller scale, like what goes on upstairs. We're running a lot more things through purchase orders, so I'm seeing those purchase orders come actually through our accounting system before she issues checks. She wants to be so overly cautious. You know, I consider working in finance a big game of cover your butt, right? You're always covering your butt, right? You never want, and that's what she's doing. She's making sure that she is covered, because if something is missing, you're the last person who wants to be looked
Sign
at,
off on the
right?
check.
Right.
Yep.
So that is where she's at. I don't even remember, why did I start down that? Sorry.
So do we just need a motion to bring it to?
To recommend, if that's what you're going to do, to recommend to the board.
Make a motion that we recommend the stipend increase to the board for a vote
So
The
it's,
amount of $3,000.
Yeah,
in the
it-
amount of $3,000.
it's gonna be the creation of, because we currently don't have that one.
Okay, creation of a stipend
You got it.
Thank you.
for $3,000.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Andrea, thanks for walking through that and delicately.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
So let's see if I can remain delicate on the next.
For all those in favor?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, of course.
Thank you. Okay.
So the next item on the agenda is the student activity account internal controls discussion. So this is a little bit more of the same. So I don't want to say that we've strengthened our internal controls. I mean, we've put some more in place, but they were fine before with the auditors, all right? What an internal control won't do. So internal controls, for those of you who don't understand what I'm talking about, are the things that the auditor looks at to make sure that there are safeguards in place, that no one person exerts too much control over the asset. So in this case, we're talking about the checking account, right? Or the funds upstairs. So while you can write, and we have a procedure book for internal controls, and they were adequate, there were just a lot of bad habits,
Yeah, as you had stated.
bad
Yep.
habits that started, and things, it just wasn't looking good. So as we push back and enforce these internal controls, it's now creating pressure points on other things and some of our other co-curricular clubs that have been operating a certain way.
Yeah, and we've gone through every step of every process and had conversations, both with staff members who are involved and with the auditors to just analyze each piece to make sure that as we're making sure there is clear understanding about the expectations and trying to move forward in a way that we are adhering completely to those internal controls or processes, procedures.
Yep.
This revealed another need for conversation around a past practice.
So we had a conversation, and there were a few things that we needed to remind everyone. While this money is actually, this belongs to the students, we are required by the auditor and by the state of Maine to be the guardian of these funds. It is our responsibility to make sure that they are used for things that are appropriate and that we are looking out for these funds through internal controls the same way we do upstairs. When the auditor audits our accounts, they also audit the student activity accounts for these internal controls. If there are weaknesses or deficiencies within those accounts, which means people aren't following these procedures, it ends up on the district's audit. The audit is then required to go to the state of Maine, and then I and we are required to respond to tell the state how we are going to deal with those deficiencies. So I am we are responsible for these funds, even though they aren't ours, the same way that I am for the general fund. And I think that the people who put money in these accounts do not understand this. I think that they think that this is a student's accounts and they can do with it as they may, right? I will, whatever I want to do, it's not the district's, it's ours, but that is not the case.
Right.
We are responsible, period. All right, so we had a conversation with some people, and some of their practices that they've been doing just wouldn't pass an internal control. And there are things that they're doing, and we understand why they're doing them. There are things with students, they're trying to give students experiences. You wanna?
Yeah, I think, again, these are all experiences. I think we have to talk about specific examples. And so this isn't about the individual that's facilitating or the advisor. But one example is putting together Thanksgiving baskets or Operation Christmas. Some of the community initiatives that are in the best interest of students and families. It's exactly the kind of community we want to cultivate.
Yep.
So a past practice has been involving students in some of the shopping that's happened for families, and it's really generated by students. And the intent is to carry out these acts, these good deeds, these acts of kindness from start to finish, empowering students to do that from start to finish. So this has involved gift cards. And if you remember, we talked a lot about gift cards specifically.
It's involving gift cards and or cash in the amounts of, so the situations that we discussed with Operation Christmas was giving a group of students $500 without an adult present and allowing students to go shopping for a family. I think we can all see the benefit of that, giving students that experience as well as what it does for a family in our community. However, that would never pass an internal control.
I can see why.
Okay.
It wouldn't pass a family control.
So I brought, and this is just one example of things, but it was a pretty good one. So I had a conversation with Hank, which is my go-to. He's the consultant. He also prepares our financial reports. He's not the auditor, but we all work hand in hand together, okay? So the only thing that we could come up with is making the advisor personally responsible for the money that was given to these students. Mhm. That is the only, the account can, so if the advisor is giving these students $500 in teams, that whatever money is given out there, that person becomes personally responsible, and it does not fall back on to the remainder of the money in that account. Go ahead, Joanne.
So,
Can I make a suggestion? If you allocate a family to a student and you have a $500 budget, can't you do a wish list with prices from like Amazon And then,
The idea is that they're giving these students the experience of shopping. It's not shopping, that's not the experience that they are wishing to give kids.
In
and I would,
addition to wanting to, sorry.
I was gonna say, well, I don't know about you, but that's how I do my shopping
Mhm.
for my family, for gift giving. And it going out to various stores and buying things with cash strikes me as.
Or gift cards.
Or
or-
gi-
or-
But you're dealing with kids who don't have necessarily a credit or a debit card, so
No, no,
to
no,
do
no.
online shopping like for Amazon.
But if you can, if they give you the wish list and where they got these numbers from,
Uh-huh.
the advisor could order all the stuff and do a purchase order based on, and then give the box to the person and say, okay, these were the things that you had ordered for that particular family.
I think that's not but I think that's not the point of what they're trying to do.
There's also been an effort over time to cultivate just recognition of local businesses, small businesses trying to shop local
Yeah.
and small, and that isn't exclusively by design, the intent, but it is part of conversations that we've had. And again, to Andrea's point, that providing the experience for the students and
You had something, Jeff, you wanted to?
I think we're trying to micromanage. I mean, I think from what you've been telling me, the state has certain guidelines for the use of this type of funds, right?
They don't have so
Things you
the,
can't do
the
and things
fund-
you can do.
the funds need to be used for however it was raised. What there needs to be is an internal control process that passes the muster with an auditor. And that the auditor is struggling with giving students without an adult $500 in either cash or a gift card to go shopping. And the conversation that we had was, and I understand, I am not passing any judgment on the value. I absolutely do believe there's value in, I mean, the kindness that, or the community that it's.
Yeah, I
that
mean, you're
it's giving
teaching
these
children to
kids, you
shop
know,
for someone else.
It's not the same as sitting, I mean, I understand what she's trying to do. I really do, and I'm not. And I'm not trying to, but I want you to know that what is being asked and what we are putting in place in order for this to happen. I just don't want this resting with me. So I'm not asking for a vote. I am just making you aware of in order to be able to do the things that she wants to do with this group and to serve the community. And I completely agree with what she's doing. She puts an enormous amount of time. And I don't mean to sound like I'm devaluing it, but I am looking at it from a fiscal internal control. So I am making you aware, and that is all I am doing.
So you're not looking for a recommendation of how
Nope.
to behave?
I am just telling you that the auditor recommended making this person responsible, and that is what I have done. And I am making you aware that
Okay.
And she's accepted, or he's accepted the responsibility.
I have shared that. I don't know whether or not, I have not received any feedback, but I did make her, there is a document that has been written up, and there's
Say that out loud.
backup information about what the students are going to have to provide, like obviously all the receipts and like there is an extensive amount of paperwork and backup that is going to be needed back to pass the muster.
So you're putting together written instructions of how to behave with this account. I mean,
More written instructions about how to behave.
So Gabe says we're gonna lose all our advisors.
I mean, if you're gonna put them, which I get what you're saying, I do. I can't imagine there's one student getting $500 to go shopping.
I think it's in groups.
Right, so if a lot of these clubs have 30 students. So you divide $500 up by 30, it's quite a considerably small amount if they're buying, say, one gift. per, and all the receipts are given, they're tracked. And the advisor is overseeing it. My worry would be if you're saying that that advisor is now responsible for, say, $500 and they have to foot the bill. I know from experience living with the district for a long time, the amount of work that the advisors put in is way more than what they get for any stipends.
Right.
They're lucky to get $5 an hour for the amount of work that they're doing, and to be responsible for that, that would be just my concern.
It is not
Sure.
about what they're doing, it's about the risk involved giving assets to students without adult supervision. That is, they are not adults, they're students, and an adult needs to be responsible, and unfortunately, kids or young adults age 9 or grades 9 through 12 are not deemed responsible to give district assets to. And I get it. We had the conversation about whether there could be a chaperone or an adult, and honestly, she can't find anybody. I understand.
You know, if I was an advisor, I would tell the students, I mean, the talk is that giving a group of students $500 to do something kind and useful for a family in the community, right? You're teaching them that behavior. Another component of teaching a child is that they have to be responsible of answering to me that I'm trusting you with $500 and you owe me the respect and trust of reporting back to me correctly. Because my fanny's on the line if you don't. So I'm gonna teach those kids that don't do this to me. You know, that.
Yeah,
So,
but
I mean, it's another lesson they're learning.
And she has, if you listen to her talk about it, she has an extreme amount of faith in these kids. And it's not just $500, Gabe, it's $500 per family. And there are several families. So there's a lot of.
And I'm not saying there isn't, and
Yeah.
again, they should be tracking all the receipts and keeping all those items, and that's something that the students, can help with, obviously compiling all that data and tracking it, putting it in a spreadsheet, however
The
that might
minute
be,
they-
and that's all part of this whole
Yeah.
process,
The
and they
problem
definitely.
I have with this is that you're still dealing with kids and money. And if they lose it, if it gets stolen from them, then who's gonna be responsible for making up the difference? And so.
The advisor.
Right, and so who's gonna want to have to deal with that? That's why I'm saying, if you have a wish list, you can go around from store to store to store and pick out things and they'll put it aside. And they can send a bill and we can add it up and it's $500 and then checks can be cut. But I don't think sending kids out with cash where
So,
things can happen, not that the kids would steal it, not that the kids would do anything wrong, but shit happens. I'm sorry to say, anybody listening. We have problems even with collection of funds for events and things getting stolen or misplaced or whatever, and this is adults. So
we're trying not to tell her how to run her program. We're just trying to find a way for her to be able to run her program in a manner where both the students and the community get value out of the experience.
That's it, trying to support the effort, really, and actually not trying to complicate it. So we've actually had the conversation about where can we tweak? Where can we revert to PO or an online order and simplify in that way? I think we actually have established some common ground. We can provide that experience. We can let students own it. So it is a work in progress, but we felt that it was important that this agenda item belonged tonight because we've had extensive conversations and we've had even more conversations day to day. And so this is an important piece. We by no means want to put systems in place to create barriers to make this more challenging, or worse, to deny our students' experiences and our family the benefit of the kindness that
Sure.
this is designed and intended and has historically provided within the community.
Is there a way to get a debit card of $500? And then that way you have an accounting when you see,
We could get Visa cards. Haven't decided how they're going to be issued yet. But that is an option. We could get $500 Visa cards.
But even that won't necessarily provide your receipts.
No, prevent theft, and if you lost a card, it can be
And the
deactivated.
only reason that I'm telling you is because what I don't want, and it's not that I am hiding it from you, but in the event that a card or funds get lost, they would be reported to us, and we would need to report it to you. And I wouldn't want you to say, what's going on? You know, we weren't aware. So because I shared it with the auditor and you know, we talked about finding a way so that we could move forward with allowing her to run her program the way that she's always run it. I just wanted to share with you the additional protocols we've put into place to try to safeguard.
Just one more question. Has there ever been an issue with money disappearing
Yes,
with children?
there's been an issue with money disappearing with adults. So we're talking about, we have let go 3 administrative assistants in the last 30 years because money has disappeared. So
That is
not
true.
children.
I mean, like,
Adults.
I'm going specifically to this Christmas family shopping thing. Kids, money disappearing, I mean,
how would you know?
Exactly.
okay.
How would you know? Because you say you spent $500, how do you know? I mean, the basket gets put
Receipts.
together.
Receipts, exactly.
And I implicitly judge her, I implicitly respect her judgment. So otherwise, I don't think I would have gone to such.
Is she all alone in
Complaints.
this? Again, we got a situation where one person is kind of holding the bag. If she's got like 5 families and 500 each, and there's no one else standing beside her helping. 2
Typically-
people keep each other honest. I don't mean to imply that she's not honest, but
Well, no, it's just that the time, as Gabe said, you're lucky as an advisor, and I did a lot of advising when I was teaching. You know, you're lucky if you get $5 an hour. It's usually less. And so it's a lot of keeping accounting and paperwork and getting all this stuff together for the reimbursements.
Would
So
you-
one of the things that the new administrative assistant and not the new administrative assistant, the person who is assuming the responsibility of this, and I have discussed, is My School Bucks, which is actually what takes our, which is the same process that parents deposit funds into for the lunch program.
Mhm.
They also have several other programs so that we could be able to start taking electronic funds from students for yearbook, I know when Alyssa was here, they would, Alyssa's involved with drama. My School Bucks has tickets. So trying to find a way, Christina and I talking about doing electronic ticketing like at football games. Somebody went to a football game in another district and all of their tickets were electronic. Everybody had to pay electronically. So, you know, trying to find ways where you reduce the liability by reducing the amount of cash that's changing hands. Because every time cash changes hands between people, there's a liability.
I mean, it's a good exercise for the children to do this. And like I said, one of the components you teach them is trust and responsibility and
And
accountability.
she has a lot of trust in those kids. Listening to her talk about them, it's very moving.
Is she overstressed? I mean, does she feel like she's carrying too much by herself?
The people that get in those roles are always overstressed.
Because they're teaching other subjects.
You know, it really would be easier to have a wish list and hit the button. right?
Right.
So I think it says a lot that there's a commitment to this looking a particular way for the benefit of all of the students involved. And while we keep focusing on one or two efforts, this really could apply to many advisors
Yeah.
or the
And
folks. Terry, are you all set? Oh, okay.
all of our.
She's
I
riveted by
can't-
our conversation.
I can't think of any, it used to be that some of our co-curricular activities had two advisors. With the exception of football that has maybe, I mean, not football, sports that may have a JV and a varsity. All of our co-curricular clubs just have one advisor. Yep, we've,
I'm glad you informed us, so we know what's going on. And I think you have the right plan, you know.
How many families of $500 are we talking about?
I know,
I
there
think
was,
it varies from year to year.
Okay.
it's based on need and I think.
I was just looking for a ballpark of how much money we could lose.
And I was gonna say, as more families have
Have greater
problems, we might have to bring it down to $250 per family, because we have 11 or 12 or 13 families.
That is something that their group, that their club decides. So I trust that she
It
will,
also depends on how much money they are
Mhm.
able to get in donations and stuff.
she's very invested in this community. She also runs the Tiger Pantry. She does a lot.
Yeah, I think, again, general awareness,
Yeah.
conversation is what this was intended to be.
Yeah.
And we are committed to figuring out a plan to make this work. I think we're close to landing on it and you've received the update and
You're not looking for an answer.
No, I'm just sharing.
Well, thank you for that. I can't wait to hear about its success.
That's all I have.
Okay. I apologize for being late tonight. I was on another meeting here in the building. Thank God for coming in.
Well, you're here for the vote, so.
Wanted to be here for the whole thing, but the other thing went on longer than I anticipated.
You didn't miss much.
Well, thank goodness.
Thank you.
Jeff, Jeff, you look so lovely in those colors.
Oh, I spent all afternoon picking them out.
Well, thank goodness. No, those colors are so nice on you. It looks warm and festive.
Well, thank you.
Very fall.
I put absolutely no effort into it.
Well, I wish I could put no effort and look that good, so there you go.
I guess we're adjourned, and I
We're
just
adjourned.
want to say to Katie, I did it in
Is that
the.
on tape?
I hope so. Well, if you felt like that was inappropriate, I apologize. But
Well, thank you for the compliment.